She would later replay that final phone call in her mind 1,000 times, searching for the exact moment when everything she believed began to quietly fall apart. At the time, she had no idea it would be the last conversation before her world cracked open. All she knew was that his voice sounded different that night, slower, careful, almost as if he were walking on thin glass. "Are you still there?" he asked softly. "I'm here," she replied, leaning back in the leather chair of her private study, surrounded by framed awards and floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked a city she owned more buildings in than she could count. "I was just listening." He laughed, that familiar laugh that had become her favorite sound over the past year. "You always say that. Like you're afraid I'll disappear if you stop talking." She smiled, though something heavy pressed against her chest. "Maybe I am." Neither of them knew how close that sentence came to the truth. The woman, known publicly as a ruthless billionaire investor and philanthropist, had everything money could buy. Private jets, global influence, entire boardrooms that fell silent when she cleared her throat. But at night, when the lights dimmed and the assistants went home, her world shrank to a phone pressed against her ear and a voice that made her feel less alone. He had entered her life so quietly it felt almost accidental. A wrong number message that turned into a polite apology. A brief conversation that became a habit. A habit that became the most important part of her day. "You don't have to stay up so late for me," she told him once. "I want to," he said without hesitation. "It's the best part of my day." No one had spoken to her like that in years. He never asked about her wealth, never pushed for photos, never rushed her. He listened when she spoke about her late husband, about the silence that followed success, about how people only saw her title and not the woman beneath it. "You don't sound like a billionaire," he once teased. "What do I sound like?" she asked. "Like someone who just wants to be chosen." The words had pierced straight through her defenses. Their video calls came later, always brief, always imperfect. The lighting was bad, the connection unstable. He claimed the power in his area was unreliable. Sometimes the screen froze. Sometimes his face was half hidden in shadow. "I'm sorry," he would say. "I wish I could do better." "It's okay," she assured him every time. "I trust you." And she truly believed she did. The first time he mentioned money, it wasn't a request. It was a story. A sick relative. A business deal that collapsed at the last minute. A voice tight with frustration. "I'll figure it out," he said quickly when she fell silent. "I didn't mean to worry you." She was the one who offered. "It's nothing," she said, already transferring the amount. "Please don't let this keep you awake." There was a pause. Then a shaky breath. "You have no idea what this means to me." "I think I do," she replied, feeling strangely proud. Over time the amounts grew. Not because he demanded more, but because she wanted to help more. Because she wanted to be needed. Because love, when it arrives late in life, carries a dangerous urgency. Still, the doubts crept in quietly. A mispronounced detail. A timeline that didn't quite match. An accent that shifted when he was tired. Small things. Easy to ignore. Easier to excuse. "You're overthinking," she told herself, staring at the city lights one evening after their call ended abruptly. Yet that night, instead of sleeping, she opened her laptop and typed a single sentence into a secure email. "I need a background check." Discreet. Complete. When the report came back days later, she didn't open it immediately. She let it sit unread, as if the truth only existed once she allowed her eyes to see it. When she finally did, her hands trembled. "This can't be right," she thought. She read it again. And again. Her chest tightened, not with anger, but with a sharp, unexpected grief. The kind that steals your breath. The kind that makes the room feel smaller. She didn't confront him. Not then. Not even after she learned his real age. Not after she saw the country listed on the report. Not after the word romance fraud appeared in clinical, unforgiving language. Instead, she watched. She listened. She tested the silence. The next time they spoke, she changed the script. "I need to tell you something," she said, forcing a tremor into her voice. "What is it?" he asked, instantly alert now. "I think I'm in trouble." The line went quiet. "My accounts," she continued. "There's been an investigation. Everything is frozen. I don't know what's going to happen." Seconds passed. Long, painful seconds. Finally he spoke. "Are you safe?" The question stunned her. I think so," she said carefully. "That's what matters," he replied. "Money comes and goes." She closed her eyes, fighting the sudden sting of tears. "You're not angry?" she asked. "Why would I be?" he said. "I didn't fall in love with your money." The word love hung between them, heavy and dangerous. After the call ended, she sat alone in the dark, heart pounding, realizing something terrifying and undeniable was beginning to unfold. The story she thought she understood was changing shape, and whatever waited at the end of it would not be simple revenge. Somewhere across the ocean, a young man stared at his phone long after the screen went black, unaware that the lie he built to survive was about to force him to confront the truth about who he had become. And neither of them yet understood that the next choice she made would change both of their lives forever. She did not sleep that night. Not because of fear, but because of a strange, unfamiliar weight pressing against her conscience. For the first time since she'd opened the report, she wasn't thinking about what he had done to her. She was thinking about what she was doing to him now. By morning, she had already instructed her assistant to cancel 2 meetings. She claimed exhaustion. No one questioned it. People rarely questioned her. Her phone buzzed just after noon. "Good morning," his voice said, tentative, as if he were afraid of waking something fragile. "I didn't think you'd call so soon," she replied. "I wanted to check on you," he said. "I kept thinking about you all night." She closed her eyes. "I'm still trying to understand everything." "I know," he said quickly. "You don't have to talk if you're not ready." There was again patience, concern. Nothing like the image painted in the investigator's report. No trace of the careless predator she had imagined when she first read the word scammer. "I'm scared," she said, letting the silence stretch afterward. "Of what?" he asked. "Of losing everything," she said. She wasn't entirely lying. "You won't," he replied with quiet certainty. "And even if you do, you won't lose me." Her fingers tightened around the phone. "You say that so easily." "Because it's true." After the call, she sat motionless, staring at the wall. She replayed his words again and again, comparing them to the cold data in the file on her desk. 2 versions of the same person. She didn't know which one frightened her more. That afternoon, she instructed her private team to dig deeper, not into crimes or networks this time, but into his life. His childhood. His family. His education. She wanted context. She needed it. The results came slowly, piece by piece, like fragments of a story no one had bothered to finish telling. A father who left early. A mother who worked multiple jobs and still couldn't keep the lights on. A bright student who dropped out at 16 when school fees became impossible. A boy who learned early that survival required creativity, and sometimes deception. She read everything. Twice. That night she called him first. "Did I wake you?" she asked. "No," he said, though she could hear the lie. "I was just thinking." "About what?" He hesitated. "About whether you're going to disappear." Her throat tightened. "Why would you think that?" "Because people always do," he said quietly. She swallowed. "I'm still here." "I know," he said, relief evident in his voice. "I just needed to hear it." There was a long pause before she spoke again. "Tell me something. If you lost everything tomorrow, what would you do?" He laughed softly. "I've lost everything before." And I survived," he said. "I always do." The simplicity of his answer unsettled her. Days passed. Then a week. She kept up the act, describing imaginary meetings with lawyers, fake conversations with auditors, a fabricated sense of panic. Each time she watched for cracks in his behavior. For impatience. For manipulation. For demands. They never came. Instead, he became gentler. Less playful. More present. "Have you eaten?" he asked one evening. "I forgot," she admitted. "You can't do that," he said. "You need to take care of yourself." She smiled faintly. "You sound like you're scolding me." "Someone has to," he replied. There was a moment, just a moment, when she almost told him everything. Almost ended the test before it went too far. But then she remembered the report again. The money. The lies. The months of carefully crafted illusion. Not yet, she told herself. Not yet. The confession came when she least expected it. They were talking late, both exhausted, both quieter than usual. "I need to tell you something," he said suddenly. Her heart skipped. "What is it?" "If you hate me after this, I'll understand," he continued, voice shaking now. I can't keep carrying it." She said nothing. "I didn't meet you by accident," he said. "At first." The words landed like a stone dropped into still water. "I was looking for someone," he went on quickly. "Someone lonely. Someone kind. I didn't know it would be you. And I didn't know it would become this." Her chest burned. "I was pretending," he whispered. "I was lying." She pressed her hand to her mouth, though he couldn't see her. "I know what that makes me," he said bitterly. And I don't expect forgiveness. I just couldn't keep taking from you when you're already hurting." There it was. The truth. Raw and unpolished. She waited. "I stopped asking for money because I didn't deserve it," he continued. "And because somewhere along the way I started caring more about you than about surviving." Tears streamed down her face now, silent and unstoppable. "Say something," he pleaded. She inhaled deeply. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you think you're losing everything," he said. "And I can't be the reason you lose yourself too." The room felt unbearably quiet. "You don't know how hard it is to say this," he added. "I'm terrified." She believed him. After the call ended, she didn't move for a long time. When she finally stood, she walked to the window and stared out at the city below. All that power. All that control. And yet the most important decision of her life had nothing to do with money at all. The next morning, she made a choice that would shock everyone who advised her. She called him. "I know everything," she said calmly the moment he answered. Silence. "I know your age," she continued. "I know where you are. I know how this started." His breath hitched. "Then why are you calling?" "Because I want to know who you choose to be next," she said. On the other end of the line, a 19-year-old boy who had built his life on lies began to cry, not out of fear of punishment but because for the first time, someone had seen him completely and hadn't hung up. And she knew in that moment that whatever came next would not be simple, and it would not be easy, but it would be real. He didn't speak for a long time. She could hear his breathing on the other end of the line, ragged, uneven, like someone who had been running and suddenly realized there was nowhere left to go. "Say something," she finally said, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. I thought you would be screaming," he whispered. "Or threatening me. Or telling me the police were coming." "Is that what you deserve?" she asked quietly. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "Probably." She closed her eyes. "Then why didn't you disappear when I told you I lost my money?" "Because I couldn't," he said. "I tried. I swear I tried. But every time I thought about blocking you, my chest felt like it was collapsing. You were the first person who ever listened to me like I mattered." "That wasn't real," she said sharply, then immediately regretted the edge in her tone. "It was real to me," he replied, his voice breaking. "Even if I wasn't." The words cut deeper than she expected. She sank into the chair behind her desk, suddenly exhausted. "How old are you?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. 19, he said. "I'll be 20 next year." Her fingers curled into her palm. "You're a child." "I know," he said bitterly. "That's what makes it worse." "No," she said softly. "That's what makes it complicated." He laughed once, hollow and humorless. "You don't have to protect me. I don't deserve it." "I'm not protecting you," she said. "I'm trying to understand you." Silence followed. Then hesitantly, "Why?" The question hung in the air between them. "Because if I don't," she said slowly, "then everything we talked about meant nothing. And I refuse to believe that." On the other side of the ocean, he wiped his face with the back of his hand, staring at the cracked ceiling of the small room he shared with two cousins. The fan above him rattled as it spun. "You should hate me," he said again. "I don't," she replied, surprising herself with how true it sounded. "I'm angry. I'm hurt. But hate? No. That doesn't make sense," he said. "I lied to you for months. And yet," she said, "when I gave you an excuse to leave, you stayed. Because I loved you," he said quietly, as if saying it too loudly might break it. Her breath caught. "Do you still?" "Yes," he answered instantly. "Even now. Even knowing you know." She stood and walked slowly toward the window again. The city lights glowed below, indifferent to the quiet reckoning taking place above them. "Love doesn't erase consequences," she said. "I know," he replied. "I'm ready for whatever you decide." That sentence stayed with her long after the call ended. Over the next few days she didn't call him. Not because she wanted to punish him, but because she needed space to think without the pull of his voice. In that time she spoke to lawyers, advisors, and security experts. Every one of them said the same thing. Cut him off. Report him. He manipulated you. You're lucky it wasn't worse. They spoke in facts and figures. Losses, risks, precedents. None of them asked how it felt to be heard after years of silence. Late one evening, unable to bear the quiet any longer, she called him. "I was afraid you wouldn't," he said when he answered, relief flooding his voice. "I needed time," she replied. "I understand," he said. "I'll wait as long as you need." She took a breath. "Tell me how this started." He hesitated. You're sure? Yes. I was 16, he began. I had already dropped out of school. My mother was sick. I watched men in my area make more money in a week online than my family made in a year. They told me it wasn't stealing if the people were rich. They said no one would get hurt. And did you believe them? She asked. At first, he admitted. Then I stopped thinking about it. Thinking made it harder. She nodded slowly, though he couldn't see it. And me? You weren't supposed to be different, he said. But you were. How? You asked about my dreams, he said. No one had ever done that. Her throat tightened. When you sent money, he continued, I told myself I'd stop once things stabilized. But then you'd smile. Or laugh. Or tell me something personal. And I didn't want to lose that. So you kept lying, she said. Yes, he whispered. And every day it got heavier. There was a long pause. If I had reported you, she said carefully, what would have happened to you? He exhaled slowly. Prison. Or worse. Definitely no future. She closed her eyes. And if I do nothing, she asked. Then I'll keep being someone I hate, he said. And I'll probably destroy myself eventually. Her decision began to take shape in that moment, not as a sudden revelation but as a quiet certainty. What if, she said slowly, there was another option? He frowned, confused. What do you mean? What if the money you took wasn't the end of the story, she said. What if it was the beginning of a different one? You're scaring me, he said softly. Good, she replied. Because change should be frightening. The next day she booked a private flight. Not to confront him. Not to expose him. But to meet with educators, counselors, and local organizations halfway across the world. When she called him that night, her voice was calm. I'm not calling the authorities, she said. He gasped. Why? Because punishment alone won't fix what's broken, she said. And because you're more than the worst thing you've ever done. He began to cry openly now. I don't know how to repay you. You don't, she said. You earn it. How? He asked. By becoming someone who never needs to lie again, she replied. He nodded, though his voice trembled. I'll do anything. She believed him. But belief, she knew, was only the first step. The real test, the one that would reshape both their lives, was only just beginning. She didn't sleep that night either. Excitement tangled with fear so tightly in her chest she thought she might suffocate. The next morning, she began arranging the pieces of a plan she wasn't sure anyone else could understand, least of all the young man on the other end of the phone. Her assistants thought she was traveling for business, but in truth, every meeting she scheduled, every call she returned, was a stepping stone toward a confrontation that was unlike any she had ever experienced in her life. When she called him later that evening, his voice was quieter than usual. You sound serious, he said, a hint of dread threading his words. I am, she replied. But it's a good kind of serious. He paused. I don't know if I understand. You will, she said. All I'm asking is that you trust me. Completely. There was a long silence on the line. She could hear the faint rustle of a room, the low hum of a ceiling fan, and then a hesitant breath. Okay, he said finally. I'll trust you. She smiled, though he couldn't see it. Good. That's all I need. The following days were a whirlwind of planning. She arranged for tutors, counselors, and mentors to be available for him once he arrived. She coordinated travel, educational programs, and housing. She even reached out to people she knew in local nonprofits to create a safety net he couldn't possibly escape from. Every detail was painstaking because the stakes were enormous. This wasn't just about helping him, it was about creating a future he hadn't allowed himself to imagine. When she told him he would be coming to her city, he froze. I can't, he stammered. I don't have a passport. I don't have money. I'm not. You have everything you need, she interrupted gently. I've taken care of that. The rest is up to you. But, no buts, she said firmly. You've been living a life of lies and fear for too long. It's time you see what it's like to live honestly, to be free. He was silent for a long moment, then a shaky laugh escaped him. I can't believe this is happening. I don't deserve it. That's not the point, she said. The point is whether you're willing to take it. Finally, after what felt like hours, he whispered, okay. The flight itself was uneventful, but the tension in the air between them was palpable. Every time he spoke, she could hear the nervousness beneath his words, the disbelief, the tentative hope. She had seen that combination in her boardrooms, in her negotiations, but never in anyone so young, so raw, so human. When he finally arrived, she was waiting in a quiet, private lounge at the airport. She didn't rush to hug him or show her excitement. Instead, she let him take it all in: the polished marble floors, the soft hum of the air conditioning, the subtle scent of sandalwood in the air. She wanted him to see that he had stepped into a world that had once felt completely out of reach, and that he had earned the right to belong. He looked around, eyes wide. This isn't real," he said softly. "It's very real," she replied. "And it's yours if you're ready to accept it." He swallowed hard. "I don't know if I am." "You will," she said, leading him to a quiet seating area. "Start by telling me everything. Every detail about what happened, what you felt, what you thought. No filter. No excuses." And he did. He told her about the loneliness that had driven him, about the desperation that had made deceit seem necessary, about the shame that had haunted him every night. And as he spoke, she listened. Not as a judge. Not as a billionaire. But as a witness to a life that had been overlooked, neglected, and misunderstood. Tears ran down her cheeks as she listened, and when he finally stopped, she reached out, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "You've carried too much for too long," she said. "But now it's time to let go. It's time to start over." The next weeks were intense. Classes, counseling sessions, mentorship meetings. He was overwhelmed, exhausted, and at times frustrated. Old habits and fears surfaced. He wanted to retreat, to hide, to return to the only life he had known. She didn't let him. She guided him patiently, firmly, reminding him constantly that this was his chance to redefine himself. "Why are you doing all this for me?" he asked one night after a particularly grueling day. "I lied to you. I took from you. I don't deserve." "None of that matters now," she said softly. "What matters is the choice you make from this moment on." He shook his head, voice trembling. "I feel like I owe you my whole life." "You owe me nothing," she said. "You owe yourself everything." He stayed up late that night, staring at the ceiling of his small room in the apartment she had arranged for him. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about money, survival, or manipulation. He was thinking about possibilities, about honesty, about who he could become. She watched him from afar, carefully observing his progress. She didn't hover, didn't micromanage. But she was there, always, a steady presence that reminded him he wasn't alone. Gradually he began to change. Confidence replaced fear. Pride replaced shame. He laughed freely, without apology, without the guardedness that had once defined him. He began to take ownership of his education, engaging in his studies with a fervor she hadn't expected. He met new people, joined workshops, and slowly, hesitantly, began to imagine a future that didn't include deception. One evening, as they sat together watching the city lights from her private terrace, he turned to her. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. "I feel like I've been given a second chance I don't deserve." "You do," she said firmly. "You absolutely do. But you have to claim it. You have to work for it. You have to choose it every day." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I will. I promise." "And one day," she said, voice softening, "you'll help someone else the way you've been helped. That's when you'll truly understand the gift you've been given." For the first time in his life, he believed it. And for the first time in her life, she realized that love, true love, wasn't always about romance. Sometimes, it was about seeing someone at their worst and giving them the courage to rise. The weeks passed like a blur, each day layering new lessons, new realizations, new confidence upon the young man. He was still 19, still raw, still painfully aware of the mistakes he had made, but he was no longer defined by them. He laughed more freely now, asked questions without hesitation, and for the first time, allowed himself to imagine a life that wasn't ruled by fear or deception. One evening, as the sky burned pink and orange over the skyline, she watched him sitting cross-legged on the floor, books spread around him, engrossed in a lesson he had once considered impossible. She could see the tension easing from his shoulders, the uncertainty in his eyes replaced by curiosity and pride. And she realized that what she had done, what she had chosen, was more than intervention. It was transformation. "Do you remember the first time we spoke?" she asked softly, joining him on the floor. He looked up, surprised by her presence. "Of course. How could I forget?" "You told me something that night," she said, choosing her words carefully. "Something about being chosen. About wanting to be seen." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I remember. I just never thought anyone really would." "You were wrong," she said firmly. "And I've been trying to prove it ever since." He looked down, embarrassed, but there was a softness in his expression now, a quiet gratitude that needed no words. "You've changed," she said, watching him carefully. "And not just in the ways I guided you. You've chosen to change yourself." He hesitated. "I wouldn't have been able to do it without you." "You wouldn't have been able to do it without yourself either," she said. "I only gave you the opportunity. You took it." He let that sink in, staring at the books spread across the floor, at the lessons he had fought to understand, at the new sense of control in his life. For the first time, he felt like he had earned his own redemption, like he had stepped out of the shadow of the mistakes he had made and into the possibility of a future that could be entirely his own. A few months later, she invited him to her private office for a meeting. Not a business meeting, this was different. She wanted him to understand the value of what he had achieved, the responsibility he now carried. "You've come a long way," she said as he entered, his posture more confident than she had ever seen. "I've tried," he said quietly. "You've done more than try," she said, standing and walking over to a shelf where a small leather-bound notebook rested. "This is for you. Notes from your mentors, your counselors. Everything you've learned. But more importantly, everything you've earned. Use it wisely." He took the notebook with shaking hands, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say." "Then don't say anything," she replied. "Just promise me you'll keep moving forward. That you'll keep choosing the person you want to be, every day." He nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "I promise." Time passed. The young man enrolled in university, joined programs designed to teach him legitimate skills, and even began mentoring younger students in similar circumstances, sharing his story to help them avoid the pitfalls he had faced. He became a symbol of change, of redemption, of the power of being seen and believed in. And she watched from a distance, proud, fulfilled in a way that no boardroom victory or financial achievement had ever given her. She had discovered something far more profound than love or wealth. She had discovered the impact of mercy, guidance, and faith in another person's potential. One evening years later they spoke again on the phone. He had matured, his voice steady, confident, yet warm and familiar. "I wanted to call and thank you," he said, "for everything. I've started my own program for kids who are in the same situation I was. And it's working. They're thriving." She smiled, feeling the weight of every decision she had made, every risk, every moment of uncertainty. "I knew you would," she said softly. "I just knew you had it in you." "Do you ever regret it?" he asked, curiosity threading his words. "Not for a second," she said. "Because seeing you grow, it's been one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I think I've learned more from you than you have from me." He laughed quietly. "You might be right." For the first time in years, both of them felt truly at peace. The lie that had begun their connection had become a bridge to honesty. The desperation that had once driven deceit had transformed into purpose. And the lonely billionaire woman and the 19-year-old boy who had once been a scammer had discovered something neither expected. That true change, once embraced, could heal even the deepest wounds and create a life neither could have imagined alone. And so, in the quiet aftermath of what could have been tragedy, they found redemption, not in punishment or resentment, but in choice, in belief, and in the power of one person to see the potential in another, even when the world insisted it wasn't there. Their story became a testament, whispered in boardrooms and classrooms, in mentorship programs and charity halls, that sometimes, the greatest acts of courage and love are not acts of wealth, but acts of faith in the human heart. And in that, they both found something more valuable than any fortune could ever offer: hope. If you enjoyed this story and would like to get more authentic story tales like this, please subscribe, like, and comment.